Hello and welcome to Last Week from the Table for Tuesday, the 15th of October 2019. My name is DM Galabond, and tonight we will be talking about session 1.1 from the history of D&D, and we will be talking about session 21 from the Walker of Waterdeep. All right, everyone, sit back and we will open up the file and we will get started. All right, tonight's show sounds like it's going to be an audio show only because OBS decided today that they would make an update, and that requires a bunch of reloading of graphics files, and neither my primary streaming computer or my backup streaming computer want to run the stream without those updates. And I got home from work just a little while ago and have not had time to do that. So I'm going to make this as an audio file. I am going to try to upload it and maybe put it on my YouTube channel and put a couple of slates on top of it for your viewing and listening pleasure. First of all, I want to apologize a little bit to everyone for this weekend's shows, especially when I went back and I listened to Saturday's shows. The new microphone that I have for my headset is a little bit more sensitive, and it was picking up a lot of popping and hissing and everything. I did not realize that it did not have a built-in filter for that. So I have since added a physical pop shield to that microphone. Hopefully that will prevent a little bit of the artifacts that we were getting on Saturdays and some on Sundays recording as well. Speaking of the history of D&D, we had session 1.1 on Saturday, October 12th at noon. This was our rebooted kickoff session. We had improved attendance, as this time 2 players were able to attend. Recruiting for this game is still open. You can find it over at Roll20, and you can just look for the history of D&D. This game, if you'll recall, is the first edition or original D&D game that I am running, where it is planned to be the first of several campaigns, each one played in a newer edition of D&D that builds and overlays the history, the legends, the lore, and the mythology of a single game world. We hope that we will have improved attendance yet again and have even more players there for our actual session 2 on October 19th. So once again, if you are interested in playing, jumping in a Wayback Machine and playing the old version of D&D, we play at noon on Saturdays, Eastern Time. Now, this week, we started our session with a review of the skill system in first edition D&D. There were some skills that were released for that game, and they even offered up a couple of different variant ways that those skills could be used. And as myself and the 2 players who were there were looking at them, neither one of those options really appealed to us. So I made a bit of a ruling that I think the players liked, and hopefully players will continue to like. Um, the PCs will gain 2 skill points at level 1, plus they will gain additional skill points at level 1 equal to their intelligence bonus. They will gain 1 additional point at every odd level. So level 3, level 5, level 7, level 9, etc., etc., etc. And they put those points into specific skills, any of the skills that they wish. And what it does is it gives an added cushion or an added bonus on their skill check. Now, in first edition, it's kind of different because when you're rolling a skill check, instead of wanting to roll high, you want to roll low. So your bonus, your +1 bonus, does add to the ceiling, the number that you have to roll under, so you can have a better chance of rolling under and making your skill, but you still would rather have a 5 on a skill check than, let's say, an 18 on a skill check, because you're almost always going to succeed on a 5, and it's only if your skill is 18 or higher that you will succeed with an 18 on a skill check roll. Um, the way that we modified this from the suggested method is that we have said that if there's an opportunity to use an untrained skill, for example, artillery is a skill in this, and that's basically using some sort of missile weapon, whether that be like a trebuchet or a catapult or something like that, and um, figuring out how to line that up and how to target it and hit what you want to hit. That's what an artillery roll does for you. In the cases if there's a character that does not have artillery trained or any other skill, for that matter, that is not trained, and they try to do something, I will allow them to make a straight roll on the ability that is based on. And I will apply any modifiers as I see fit. So if for instance, sticking with artillery, if the trebuchet is all loaded and if it's kind of pointed in the right general direction, and maybe if the character has seen one or two shots go off and then something happens to the crew and they're incapacitated and this character has to jump in and make the next shot, well, they might have a flat intelligence roll to do that because, you know, depending on how smart they are, they've kind of seen this, they kind of understand a little bit about what's going on, and they might just by dumb luck have a chance to go ahead and make that shot. Well, if on the other hand they've seen um, an unmanned trebuchet and suddenly there's enemies coming in and somebody says we got to fire something at them and nobody is available except this poor character, and this character has to go and try to get the thing loaded and have to get the thing set up and have to get the thing aimed and everything else, well, they're probably going to get a pretty substantial penalty to their intelligence roll in this case, to try to make that happen. So that's why I say it depends on the situation. When something comes up, if they are not trained in a skill, I will decide what kind of penalty, if any, should apply to that particular scenario. I think everybody should have a chance to succeed at something by sheer luck. Um, so then we started the game proper after we had worked through those issues on skills. And the PCs met at the Inn of the Welcome Wench, where they met several members of the village council. They found out that from the council, they found out there's an old moat house outside of town where bandit activity has been noticed. One of the scouts who reports regularly to the village council about the goings on beyond the borders of the village said that he had seen several fairly well organized patrols of these bandits out there, and in fact, caravan um, attacks have increased in the last few months. Now that this is going on, they also learned that there might be a connection to somebody who used to live in the town, which is a wizard named Bargle. Um, Bargle was once a kind and friendly wizard, but then there was an accident that his family died while he was away doing research. And after he came back, he just never was quite the same. And he sort of descended into darker and darker research. And eventually, some incidents happened where he was asked to leave town. And if you want to know all the story, you're going to have to go back and listen to the episode because I'm not going to give away everything. Um, so there's Elmo, uh, there's Tuck, and there's McKeith the dwarf, and those three are members of the village council. And then there's Zert, the woodsman, who was giving the account of everything that he had seen. Um, the village council wants to have some adventurers go check the place out, and Elmo, who's kind of a fighter, brawny fighter type, um, and Zert also decided they want to go with the adventurers, Zert to lead them out to the moat house. And Elmo seems to be kind of a hands-on type of guy. He wants to see exactly what the village might be up against if there should be more trouble ahead. So after that discussion, the PCs also met some gamblers. There's a dandy named Spugnor. There is a merchant's drover or wagon driver named Wendell, and there's a merchant's guard named Furnock. Um, so Spugnor and one of the PCs named Devlin got into some contests of subterfuge over a game of dice. Um, and when the game of dice started, um, the Devlin, the PC, had a real good run of luck. And after winning a few hands in a row, um, or a few rounds in a row, Spugnor dropped the dice on the floor and picked them up and put them back. And John, who was the other PC, he kind of noticed that those dice they almost look exactly like the pair they had been using, but there was a little slightly bit uh, different shade of the ivory on those dice. And so um, he kind of let Devlin know that there might be something shady going on with the dice. Devlin made an excuse and talked to a friendly barmaid who gave him a fresh set of dice from the bar. And when he went back, he was able to do a little sleight of hand of his own, and he replaced the loaded dice that Spugnor had started to use with new dice. And so the PCs they learned the rules of a game called Sevens, and that again, if you want to know how that game is played, you can go listen to the episode. Um, and eventually, when Spugnor realized that Devlin had swapped out his loaded dice, um, the other two players eventually excused themselves, and Spugnor um, basically said that he knew that Devlin knew that he had been trying to use loaded dice and that Devlin now had those dice, and Spugnor was willing to buy them back. Um, so between the two of them, John and Devlin made about 20 gold pieces that night, and Devlin was able to actually talk to Spugnor about potentially working together, since they both realize that they are kind of a roguish persuasion, or the thief class, if you will, in first edition parlance. So they may have found an ally, an underhanded one, of course, but they may have found something of an ally there in the inn. Also, from their discussion with the village council members, they received a little bit, kind of an advance on their payment, if you will. Tuck, who is a priest from the All Faith Shrine, or All Faith Chapel, I should say, in the church, specifically, he is a priest of St. Cuthbert. Um, this Tuck gave each of the PCs 2 potions of healing. Now, in first edition, a potion of healing can either restore 1d6 plus 1 hit points, or it can cure paralysis, or, this is my homebrew twist on it, it can cure poison. The reason I say it can cure poison is because in first edition, practically everything that is poison, it has a save or die within like an hour. So you it's the poison in this edition is extremely lethal. So I said, all right, we gotta have a somewhat more common way of helping people to, um, to recover from poison. So if you if you give the potion of healing to someone who's paralyzed, it will cure their paralysis, but it won't heal any hit points. If you give it to someone who's poisoned, it will cure their poison, but it won't heal any hit points. And if you give it to somebody who's just wounded, it will heal 1d6 plus 1 hit points. And I also let both PCs earn 100 XP for their roleplay, because it was pretty much a roleplay heavy session. And the PCs now have a floating pool of knowledge that they can draw on from the conversations that they had over gambling with Spugnor. Because basically, during that whole gambling montage, we focused on the mechanics of the game and rolling the dice, and we didn't focus so much on the RP. A lot of the rest of the session was more RP. So I said, all right, I'm going to give them the chance to make some rolls, and I am going to just sort of give them a floating pool of knowledge. They know there's a certain, while they're in this area, they can ask questions about, oh, well, would we have found out anything from Spugnor about that? And I will be rolling on a table to figure out what perhaps they would have found out related to that, and what the percentage chance is that Spugnor would have mentioned something about that at the time that they ask. So we will see how that goes. Like I said, that game happens every Saturday at noon Eastern time, and our next game is scheduled for Saturday, October 19th. And there are opportunities available to sign up and join that game. All I ask is that you be on time, you be reliable, and that you have a place that you can play where there's not a whole lot of background noise. So don't play in a large communal room in your house where people might be trying to watch a TV, or where there might be conversations in the background, or where the kids are running around, or where the pets are uh, yowling or barking or things like that. Just go to a room, close your door, make sure people know not to knock on the door, not to come in, and play there. And keep all of the electronics off except for the computer that you're playing on, and that will be fine. So that's what we're looking for with that particular game because we are streaming all of those sessions. The second game that we want to talk about is The Walker of Waterdeep. With that one, we're on session 21, and in 21 sessions, the PCs have risen to level 4, and they have just survived a very harrowing attack on Waterdeep. The Gith, I think I mentioned last week, the Gith had attacked. They took away a high-powered NPC, high-level NPC that is connected to the um, party, and they took some slaves. They took all of that gold that Lord Dagult Neverember had embezzled and hidden somewhere in the city. I was using the spring series of encounters, so he had hidden it underneath the Pink Flumph Theater um, in the crown or the castle ward of the city. And today they were waking up after they all took a nasty knock in an alley um, while they were trying to get into the house where they knew their benefactor was staying. And they had a side of a building collapse on them in the alley when the Githyanki took their high level NPC away in one of their little astral scout ships. And the dragons breathed fire, and that scout ship actually blasted some sort of energy weapon at the building next to the house where they were trying to get into, and that wall just collapsed on everybody. It collapsed on City Watch, collapsed on the PCs, and even collapsed on some of the Githyanki warriors down there. And everybody was either knocked out or killed. And fortunately, the PCs suffered only subdual damage because I didn't want their story to end there. When they woke up, they were at the estate of Laral Silverhand, who is the open lord of Waterdeep. They learned that it was the third day since the attack, and they learned that two of their companions were not with them any longer. One companion was a centaur, actually kind of a feline centaur, and that player has had to bow out of the game. The other character was a minotaur, and the player of that character really had started to decide that he didn't like playing that particular character. So he asked me if that character could have died in the alley. I told him no, but if you want him to leave the game, you know, you can certainly come up with a reason from a traumatic event like that, and he did. He has introduced a new character that has a tangent connection to one of our other main characters that's in the game. So Lady Silverhand invites them all to dinner, a private dinner at her house the night after they all awaken, and it really is a very private affair. It's only the 5 PCs and um, Lady Silverhand herself and 4 other individuals. One of those individuals is Barnabas Blastwind. In this game, Barnabas had stricken, or had begun, I should say, a kind of romantic entanglement with the high-level NPC female that the Githyanki had kidnapped. And he had become kind of an ally and confidant of the party, and had even at some point deputized them in the City Watch under a special unit that he was heading to uh, investigate issues related to the fireball attack that happened right outside the house that they were staying in Troll Skull Alley. Um, Another uh, attendee of the dinner was the current Black Staff herself, Vadra Safar. Vadra Safar was instrumental in helping to um, fight against the Githyanki attack. She had used her staff of office to go around and animate some of the walking statues uh, that began to go and fight against the Githyanki and against their dragon allies. Um, Also, another attendee of the dinner was Mert. Mert, who is a kind of a legendary hero of Waterdeep and had spent about a century trapped inside a magic weapon because of some sort of spell or curse or something that fell on him, and had been released recently and has since become an advisor to Lady Silverhand. And then the last attendee at the dinner is a visiting diplomat, a diplomat visiting from Luskan. Um, Luskan, it turns out, wants to be admitted to the Lord's Alliance. They now have a new secret lord, if you will, and that new secret lord is not a human, as you might expect, and is not even a wizard. That secret lord is Jarlaxle Bayenray, who is a drow male, um, and also has quite a colorful history for people who are familiar with the lore and, if you will, the expanded universe of the Forgotten Realms, as they are in some of the official Forgotten Realms novels that TSR and uh, Wizards of the Coast have authorized to be published over the decades. Um, so Jarlaxle is also a character that shows up in Waterdeep Dragon Heist. So it made sense that with all of these particular characters around, um, and me setting my game kind of in the time of the same storyline that was going on with Waterdeep Dragon Heist, that they would be involved, would know about this high level NPC, and would kind of all be um, allies of Lady Silverhand. So um, the PCs gained some gifts um, for their help in trying to get people to safety, because they uh, while personally they probably helped to save maybe 100 people, um, there's sort of stories and legends even now that are growing up about how they saved thousands of people all over the city by helping them all get into the sewers. Um, they estimate that as many as maybe 3 to 5,000 citizens of Waterdeep took to the sewers during the hour-long Githyanki attack, and thus the Githyanki were not able to see them, so they were not able to either kill them with their weapons, burn them with their dragon fire, or take them as slaves, as they did so many other people. Um, they also gave, so they gave the party each 500 gold pieces in coin, and they also gave each of the heroes a magic item, an uncommon magic item. Since they are all level 4, that is right in line with the power level of magic items they're supposed to be getting these days. Um, that was a really heavy role play session. Um, I was able to work in appearances by a number uh, of the contacts and allies that the PCs had created all the way back at the beginning of the character creation. Um, this game has a tie-in with Ravnica, the Guildmaster's Guide to Ravnica, and there's a mechanic there that I thought was so nice I actually duplicated it for Waterdeep. The mechanic in Guildmaster's Guide to Ravnica is that every member of a guild is supposed to have an ally in the guild, a rival in the guild, and a contact outside the guild. So um, I said for your first few levels that you're in Waterdeep, I want you to have I want you to think up of an ally in Waterdeep. I want you to think of a rival in Waterdeep, and I want you to think of a contact who's um, neither an ally nor a rival, and maybe in Waterdeep or maybe in some area nearby. And so they all had created these characters, and at one or two times in the past, some of them had run across those. But one of the things that was really nice while the attack was going on is that some of the players were like, oh my gosh, I wonder if my ally so and so is okay, or if my contact so and so is okay. And this was a good chance for them to go and kind of RP some interactions with those people that they knew throughout the city. Um, so it was kind of a fun game. We didn't do a whole lot of dice rolling, um, but there's some. They found out about some political undercurrents that are happening. Um, this is a traumatic event in the life of Waterdeep, and the Masked Lords are very quickly looking for someone to scapegoat and someone to blame, um, mostly so that they can look important, and also so that people won't have time to criticize them for not doing enough to rebuild the city, because it's far more important that we find out and we lay the blame on somebody for this. Harumph, 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 harumph. You know, um, we must have inquiries. We must have, um, you know, high high courts that dig into this. We must bring people before to give testimony, and we must cross-examine them, and all of this other kind of nonsense and everything. So there's a bit of that going on. And the party members, of course, are very motivated to try to find out what happened to their ally, this high level NPC, where the Githyanki have taken her, and why they were interested in kidnapping her in the first place. So this is going to form the basis of the next phase of our campaign. This game is a 5th edition game, if I didn't say that before, and it is played every Sunday afternoon at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time. So that is on my Twitch channel, which is twitch.com/Galabond. I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up since there's not really any way to open it up for Q&A. Again, I am sorry about not being able to stream tonight. I'm going to have to spend some time figuring out just what the hell OBS did and how to get the streams working again. I will probably do some tests tomorrow night, Thursday night, Friday night, once I get things rebuilt and see if if I can get all that stuff working again. Anyway, I'm going to save this as an audio file. Like I said, try to post it And I look forward to seeing everyone hopefully on the streams as early as Saturday. Take care. Once again, I have been DM Galabond, and this has been Tales from the Table for Tuesday, the 15th of October, 2019. Good night